Hi guys, welcome to another Learning Electronics Repair video. And it's that time again. Car booty time. So I was at the car boot sale yesterday, May Day, 1st of May. Lovely sunny day yesterday. And I found two computers at the car boot sale, both which come under the sort of heading of retro computers. May be good for retro gaming or basically are becoming collectibles these days. So let's have a look. This is the first one I bought, and I paid €15 for this one, and in fact I paid €15 also for the other one on a different stand. They're both of a similar era, but they're completely different machines, as you'll see. So this is the first, and let's have a look to see what's inside here. So there we have it. First glance, the first thing I see is a very nice purple motherboard. It's quite attractive, that. Who makes this thing? Let's see who's making this motherboard. You know, I don't initially see a brand on it. I'm sure it has one somewhere. As a part number, N for Norman 2U400-A. This is certainly some sort of AMD processor because of the type of heatsink on it, which is also quite nice. And it has underneath, I can see, a socket. So this is going to be, I would think, an AMD machine. But we'll have to have a look to find out for certain. Yeah, it's got an NVIDIA chipset. So the fact it's got an NVIDIA chipset, it's not an Intel machine. So it's an N-Force 2 chipset. It must be AMD. We have one AGP slot, we have 5 PCI slots, a TV tuner card, which is probably typical of this era, and an AGP. I'm guessing this is probably from the back end of the 1990s to the early 2000s, maybe 99001, something like that. You can see on the front it has this like silvery and black front, but the side panels are like the beige colour, so it's kind of like the crossover between the two colour schemes, if you like. It also has the black drives in, which came out around that sort of time at the end of the 90s. IDE, obviously, and that's what we have. I think the first thing with this is we can check for any short circuits on the 12 volts, always the first test. And if it doesn't have, let's power it up, and I can put the light bulb in series. I don't think this will have active PFC, it's not of that era, so the power supply won't mind that too much. And let's just have a look to see what it does. I have the multimeter on ohms range, so let's have a look to see what we've got here. I'll just go to the metal chassis, I think, and onto the 12 volts. Yeah, that's looking fine. We saw the capacitors charge up. Yeah, that looks okay. The capacitors down here look okay as well. I don't see any problem there. I mean, we can zoom down and have a quick look, but they all seem to be okay for the vintage of this. So I've zoomed down a little bit. You can see the motherboard now, N2U400A revision 1. I still don't know who made this. I need to look that up. I do like this. This is quite nice for a retro cooler. It's spinning free. It wants a bit of a clean, but I mean, it's, you know, it's nice. And as you can see, all the capacitors are looking good. So let's power this up and let's see what this machine actually does. This is actually one of the first ATX power supplies, if you like. Look, it has the power output on as well. Whereas, you know, very soon after we went to ATX, we lost that. It doesn't have an on-off switch on the back. I've connected it to the current limit of being such an old supply. So if I just move the camera around, you can see the light bulb is actually back here. This won't have active PFC, so there's no problem just plugging this in. The computer switched off, and let's see what the light bulb does. Yeah, so it came bright and then went off, so that's fine. There's no shorts inside it, so we can put that off now, so it's on direct mains. We can power it up again, and then let's press the start button and see what this actually does. Well, blue lights come on. Oh, well, it made a noise. Oh yeah, it's bleeping. Okay, it's bleeping. That sounds like a problem with the RAM to me. Let's just try resetting this RAM in here. Wait a minute. These slots are a bit stiff. They're old. Don't want to break any of the plastic clips off. Yeah, I've got the RAM out. So it has twin MOS. What is this? Oh, 512 meg DDR. And it has, interestingly, 3 RAM slots in there. I'm not sure exactly where this should go, if it will work with just the one. There's 1 black and 2 blue. I probably need to find the user manual for this, but let's just try again with the RAM in the slot. Reseated it. Let's connect a VGA monitor as well. Let's have a monitor on this. Let's give it another go. So there's no onboard video, but we do have the graphics card. That looks like it's sitting quite well. You can't see it very well, but it's there. Let's go again. Power on. Start up. One of the LEDs. Aha. And there we have it. Yes, I've got a picture. It's an Athlon Xp. Let's see if we can see it. There we go. So yes, it's an Athlon XP 1250. It sees it sees the hard drives there, but it's just saying no keyboard. Let me attach a keyboard to this. Try to load the BIOS default. So let's see if it then works. We can see a year on this, by the way, 2003. So that max probably says this is a little bit newer than I thought it was. Okay, I've attached the keyboard to it and the mouse. Let's see. Oh, it's bleeping again. Now that sounds like the graphics card isn't sitted. I think, this has probably just got quite a lot of dust in the various slots. So I think I'll actually just remove the graphics card, reset it in the slot. I can see there's lots of dust. There's sand all over the desk, actually. I'll show you in a minute. This is full of sand. Obviously come from by the beach somewhere, but to be quite honest, a lot of places here by the beach. Let's see. What is this graphics card anyway? Power's off, yeah. What is it we have? Oh, it's nothing amazing, I don't think. It's it's a Radeon 7000, 64 meg, quite typical of these inexpensive AGP cards. Let's see if we can see. In fact, they seem to get everywhere. These are like cockroach cards, these 7000s, they seem to be everywhere. Got a bit of a clean, blow a bit of dust out of it. Let's see if it'll now work. It's looking like there's nothing really wrong with this machine, guys. It just wants a clean, basically. Okay, in position. Connect the monitor back up again. Power on. Let's see. Yeah, that's got it. So this thing just wants a clean, basically. I'll see if I can actually then get into the BIOS and if we can actually load the from the hard drive. But it's just loaded the BIOS defaults. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, as I expected, really, this has Windows XP Professional on it. It looks like it has a password, so I probably can't actually get into. Probably can't get into the XP. I can always try from one of my own hard drives. Yeah, it's like it hasn't picked the mouse up either for some reason. Let's see if we can actually get in there. I'm sorry, that kind of light is bright. This is kind of like not coming out too well on this camera. Let's see if we can actually get into the thing. No, it looks like, in actual fact, I can't get in. I can just get a hard drive I have with XP on, and I'll just load it from that, and then we can just check this out. And while we're doing that, we might as well also see who made this motherboard and look if we can test all the memory slots as well. I've put a couple strips of 256 meg DDR400 in here. I just happen to have them with the same make and the same capacity. This motherboard apparently will take up to 3 strips of RAM in dual channel mode and give you up to 3 gig of RAM, which apparently is quite unusual for one of these socket A boards. You can see it's running. It has, you see at the bottom, 512 meg basically of memory, so it's seeing both the DIMMs. Had to reseat them several times. It was like there was dust in the socket, so I reseated them a number of times and then eventually got a good connection. CMOS battery needs changing, but other than that it seems to be working quite fine actually. We can just load the optimized defaults and then we can just boot this into XP and let's see if we can get in there now. Yep, here we go. Okay, so it's booting. It's booting. Here we go. It turns out there isn't actually a password. I thought there was a password on. Once I waited a while, the mouse started working, knowing that it was loading some drivers itself for the USB. And now it's running XP. We can actually get into the operating system that's already on there. Okay. So this machine is actually running. All seems good. You can see also in Windows XP. So we have the Athlon Xp 2800 Plus, and you can see both strips of RAM are actually there. So that's working. It's come up with some message about recovery of the active desktop, which when I click on recover doesn't seem to do anything at all. So it's possible there's a bit of a problem with the Windows XP installation on this hard drive. But I mean, I would just wipe this anyway. It's what size is this hard drive? No, it's a 120 gig hard drive. So that's the actual motherboard working. Now let's have a look at it to see if we can find a little bit more about it. The motherboard is actually this one. It's an Elite Group ECS motherboard. And there's actually a whole review, or 10-minute review here from Phil at PhilsComputerLab. Very nice retro gaming website and retro PC website if you're interested. I'm a subscriber on here myself. And Phil had a look at this motherboard. I'll link it, this video, onto the comments of this one. And he quite rates these motherboards. There's a lot of very nice features. He does a benchmark using this motherboard against others, and this is the fastest one of the ones he tests, and also one of the lowest power consumption as well as being the fastest. So you would think from that, in actual fact, these motherboards are actually fairly valuable. However, I had a look, and in sold listings on eBay I cannot find any. It's like nobody's bought any, and the only 3 I can see for sale are coming from, well, good luck getting one of these from Ukraine at the moment, I will say, unfortunately. Latvia, twice the price. I suspect if I was to put this motherboard into eBay UK and buy it now, I might, according to this, maybe get about £50 for it eventually, if somebody wants it. But I think the best thing to do with this, to be quite honest, is just to sit on it, keep it for a few years, and then see what the price is like then. The CPU, the 2800 Plus, seems to be worth £10 to £20 on its own. And I also have here another CPU I'll just show you, which I actually picked up at the car boot sale on Sunday as well. This cost me €1. It was in a box of old memory and some other CPUs, but this one seemed the most interesting one in there. This is an Athlon XP 1800 Plus. So this has quite a few bent pins. We can look at it under the microscope. And I've had a look at this motherboard, and it supports this CPU. So it seems like a good opportunity to test this as well. They're not of any great value, £5 to £10. But I also have this fan. Now, I think this is quite attractive probably to somebody building a retro gaming rig. These apparently run very, very well in Windows 98. And it only has 2 LEDs working. It looks like there should be 3 or 4, probably 4 LEDs. So let's have a look at that as well. Let's just see if we can get this working properly, because if we can, I think that'd also be quite nice. And maybe to put it with a processor, maybe the XP 2800 if I do sell it, and put the two together. By the way, I did mention This PC is full of sand. Yeah, it's sand. Computer's full of it. I've taken the motherboard out of the case now. It's in pretty damn good condition, this one. I mean, you know, washing the sink wouldn't do it any harm, but it's looking, you know, rather nice, attractive motherboard, that. I can see why people would want to add this to their list of collectible items, that's for sure. So let's have a look at this other CPU and see if we can straighten these bent pins, and then we can test this. And then let's have a look at this quite nice retro heatsink, really. I'm sure we can clean this up, and let's see if we can get the LED lighting working properly. I think that would be nice. Here's our CPU, the 1800 plus, with quite a few bent pins on it, as you can see. There's a few different ways to do this, so let's try a couple of different methods and see whether we can actually sort this problem out on ours. So we can see under the microscope now what we have here. It doesn't look like any of the pins are actually broken off. Just having a look at it now, I don't see any broken pins, not obviously, just quite a lot of bent ones. These pins are actually quite stiff and probably take quite a bit of bending back into place, to be honest. But this is what we're faced with. So I think the way to go at this, you can try a few different ways. One is to use something like this. I have a few tools like this that came effectively in a kit for mobile phone repair. Let's see if that actually fits in the gap. No, that's a little bit too wide to fit down there. Let's try this one. This is like a metal one. Let's see if this will actually get in. So what I'm thinking is getting something down the gap and maybe using it to straighten all the pins in a line and kind of like go diagonally across the CPU like this. Yeah. See if it's going to get us anywhere. This is probably a bit too thin and flexible actually, but we can try it. I mean, other options to use Stanley knife blade. This might actually be quite good for this. So let's have a go. So we have a bent one there. Oh yeah, this Stanley knife blade, this seems to work quite nicely. So let's see if we can actually use this to straighten these pins up. You can see they can be quite straight. Sometimes I think you have to tip it at an angle to see if we still have any bent ones. So we can do like so. Yeah, this looks like it's going to do the job. So I'll take some time going across this, and let's see if I can actually get these pins to straighten up properly. Let's have a look. Before I do that, before I go off camera, if you like, let's look at some of the actually very badly bent ones. So these are really quite bent, but you can see the same technique is actually working quite nicely to straighten up. Yeah, there you go. See if we can do something with this one other one, and then I'll save you guys watching all this, and I'll get across the CPU and try and straighten all the pins. I mean, you probably can't do any more harm than's already done unless you actually break a pin off. So I think this is just a matter of being patient, taking your time. I see it's coming upwards that way, and then once we get to that point, we can actually then go across this way. Get in between these, yeah. I mean, obviously tweezers might also help as well. So I'm going to work my way around this CPU now, and let's see what the results are. I'm part way around now, and I'm actually finding that tweezers are actually the easiest thing to use, especially when they're very bent like these ones. These tweezers are a bit thicker than the ones I use for SMD work. They are too narrow. They're not strong enough to do this with. This is an older pair of tweezers, and even so, it's probably not doing the tweezers the best of good. Sooner or later, you'll effectively just bend them. But I'm finding this at the moment as the easiest way to do it. So again, this is not a difficult job to do. It's just a bit time consuming, that's all. So just sit back and enjoy the therapeutic aspects of it, and you'll have the job done before you know it. I think now they're getting a lot straighter, we can probably get some mileage out of using the Stanley knife blade and just effectively seeing how level they are from each direction. So we can kind of like go diagonally across the CPU this way, and then we can do the same from the other four corners as well. So we'll just keep working across it in this direction, and you see they're all effectively lining up. And then once we've done this, we can come in from another corner, and hopefully this will get it to the point where it'll fit in the CPU. Once we get into the CPU, I think it's probably, you'll find that everything kind of like comes into place. So we can go like one way like so, and then we can effectively go the other way like so, and you can sort of see when they're resting against the blade how straight they actually are. So these are not too bad now. You can just see the odd one that's out of line, a little bit of pressure like on that one, and it'll pull them back into place for you. Okay, so let's go like this, and then let's try sticking the CPU into the slot, and hopefully if we can find out like one corner's going down, the other ones are not, we can work out where the problems are. Here's the CPU that was already fitted, so just gently lift it up and take this one out. And now let's see if we can fit our CPU. Which way around does it go? Blow a bit of dust out of it. I'm just trying to see which side was pin 1. Oh yeah, looks like pin 1 was to this end here. So let's see how our CPU is. And at the moment it isn't really, oh, it's sitting in this end. This end's sitting. I mean, you see that. This end isn't, so we know we can look in this corner and try to find some bent pins. Yeah, both that side are in now. So the problem appears to be basically in this area. So we just need to go back and just do a little bit more work on it. And after a couple more attempts, I got it to sit into the socket. It's actually in there now. So if we close the socket, I'm hoping that'll kind of like just bring the last few pins into line just a couple of times. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't damage the socket. So let's see how easily this actually goes in now. So just try and lift it back out. Yeah, it's coming out. So it's fairly straight now. I mean, it does go in. It's just a little bit of a slight wobble there. It went in easy enough, yeah. So let's try this. Let's see if it actually is a good CPU after all our work. A lot of you have seen me balancing heatsinks on top of CPUs while I test them. But with these sort, that is not the thing to do. They have a very small die, which is in contact with the heatsink. So with these, it's much more important to actually fit the heatsink correctly in place with the clips before we power it up. I'm just ready to test this. This is a known good power supply that has the 20-way connector, and it has a good amount of current capacity on 5 volts because these old processors, these XP, Athlons and Pentium 4, 478 sockets take quite a lot of power from the 5.5 volts. So this is a suitable power supply that I use. It's just a spare one I keep. Let's just make sure we haven't got anything stupid here like a short circuit CPU. No, it's fine. So there's no short. So the CPU isn't short circuit at least. If that would show up, by the way, because it's going through a VRM, so it probably wouldn't even show up, but never mind. We can now power this up, I think, and let's just see what happens. Where's the front panels down here? It looks like these 2 red ones. Just what I was showing you, by the way, about the short circuit. You can actually check that really to see if it is a short circuit CPU, and the way to do it is to find the VRMs, which are here. High side and low side MOSFET, a pair, another pair. And by these capacitors, these are almost surely the input capacitors. So this is probably the 12 volts coming in. So the junction between the two, this will be where you read the core. Yeah, 9, 10 ohms. I'm guessing that's probably okay for one of these. I don't really know. So that's basically on the junction between the source of this FET and the drain of this FET. Okay, this end will be ground. Okay, and the top end is 12 volts. So that's where you read the resistance of the core and the junction between the two. Okay, and it looks alright. I mean, the other place is on the inductor, by the way. assuming 10 ohms is okay, and it probably is, then we can just try and power this up. Let's see if this CPU actually works. I'm figuring this red pin's here is probably the start pin. Yeah, it's on. Do we get anything out of it? Oh yeah, and we've got a picture, so yeah, you can see it, Athlon Xp 1150. So that's that processor working as well. It's seeing both channels of the RAM. So that's a good one. So we've gained something else. Let's have a look, see if we can refurbish this quite attractive looking retro heatsink with the LEDs in. This is quite nice. You probably, if you wanted one, wouldn't be too easy to find one. It looks like it has an LED strip which goes around here, which effectively provides the lighting, and then it looks like the 5V comes onto the end of the LED strip here, ground, and then the yellow wire is going down to the fan, and I'm assuming the ground wire is going down there as well. So the first thing we can probably do is just to unscrew this. The top cover comes off, and then the fan comes off. And if we can give it a clean, and then we can have a look at this LED strip and see if we can do anything with that. So I'm sure things like this will become, you know, of value at some point or other. Certainly, if you were building a retro Windows 98 gaming PC, and a lot of people are these days, this is a very nice motherboard. It takes the fastest of the Athlon Xp CPUs, and I'm sure you'll be very happy to have this on your nice retro rig. So we can take the top cover off. I'll just brush all the dust out of this, and let's have a look. I have some of the dust off it. I'm sure the way to actually work on this is going to be to remove these screws. We can find something that fits them. That's thin enough to go through the gap but doesn't fit. Maybe a little flat blade might actually do the job here. I bet this is too thick to go through. So then it's a matter of finding a tool that will actually do the job. In the end, I had to modify one of my screwdrivers to get it to fit down in here. So I have 3 of the screws out, just one to go. There's a flat blade, but it's doing the job fine. So now we can actually get this thing open up. Yeah, you can see all the dirt inside now that we couldn't get at. So we can clean this, and then let's have a look at the LEDs. I have the fan now. I have the heatsink. I mean, it's cleanish. I mean, I could put this into a sink and wash it all properly. I could do with what's it actually, an ultrasonic cleaning tank. Maybe somebody will send me one day, we can look at it. But anyway, so this LED strip appears just to be held on by sticky tape. And like any roll of sellotape, we need to find out where the end is. Where have they put it? I'm assuming there is an end. Assuming there is an end somewhere on this, we can actually peel this off, and let's get to the LED strip and then see if we can actually replace the missing LED. Well, replace the LEDs that are not illuminating anymore. So I found the end. I knew there was an end. There was obviously must be an end somewhere. So we have the end now. We can just take this off. We can put some new sellotape on this. That's not a problem. We'll replace that with some non-original sellotape. Now, it looks like, yeah, this is like soldered together somewhere to actually form a single strip. And it looks like it's probably where this blob is here. I'm guessing. I'm just trying to see down the edge to see where the join is, but I'm pretty much assuming that it joins here. So I think we can, yeah, a bit of solder braid and a bit of flux, and see if it then comes apart from here. There we go, a bit of braid. Let's see what we have. Well, it certainly looks like that's where it joins together, so that's sorted that one out. So now this should actually, yep, here it comes, yep. And there are just LEDs mounted on it. That's quite nice. It's soldered through here, so this looks like it should be quite within the possibility of actually repairing it. Yeah, kind of stuck here where the end is, but we don't need to get to there. Okay, so there are not 4 LEDs, there are only 3, and we just need to find out which one isn't lighting up and then fit a new LED. So with the test meter on diode mode, you should be able to get these to light up just to prove if they're good or not. So let's have a look. Nothing there, is it the other way around? Yeah, can you see that? Did it come out on the camera? Well, I can see it lighting up. Yeah, you can probably see it light shining on my finger end, yeah. So that one's good. Look at the next one. See if this one lights up. No, this one doesn't illuminate. Oh. Yes, it does. I'll just angle it so you can see it. Yeah, I'm sure you can see that lights up. So is this first one not working? It's sort of difficult to get that from that side, but we can try from the other side. Other than that, there's 3 resistors on here as well. Now, if I go from this side, I can't really see it. See if I can actually get under here. Yeah, I think we can assume this one doesn't actually work. It's not lighting. No. So that's the faulty one. So we just need to replace this LED. This shouldn't be too difficult if we just do it quickly. We should be able to unsolder this without actually damaging the flexible ribbon, PCB ribbon, whatever you want to call it, flexible PCB. So let's just same thing, a little bit of flux. Let's just try to remove this quite quickly without getting too much heat into it. Doesn't seem too bad. Yeah. It might be a good idea actually with this, because I don't want to get too much heat into the PCB, is just to cut the 2 legs off the LED first and then just remove the pins. That might be the easier way to do this. I can just try very quickly. We can just try and pull it out with a pair of tweezers, but otherwise we'll do it the other way. So let's get the tweezers on our LED. Let's see if we can actually desolder it. Not easily. No. I mean, we could actually, to be quite honest, do away with this strip and effectively just wire the LEDs up. But let's try and keep it as close to the original item as we can, and we'll just actually cut this one off. It should be, yeah, there we go. Let's cut that one off. And now I might just be able to push these pins actually through, or even use the vacuum desolder. Actually, that would do the job well. Let's have a quick go with this, and if not, I'll just use the vacuum tool on it. Okay. Yeah, maybe I've actually desoldered them. Let's see if we find something, yeah, like probably the end of the tweezers might just effectively just push the things through. Yeah, that one, it went. Yeah, so I've actually managed to, you know, yeah, I should have used the vacuum tool, guys. I should have used the vacuum tool. Let's go again. I'm sure what bit of damage we do here, we can soon fix it anyway. Let's see if we do any. There we go. Yeah, I can see clearly through this board now. I can probably show you actually with a torch. So, yeah, can you see? Yeah, I'm sure you can see. Okay, so now we need just to find an LED and put it in here. I've just checked all the other LEDs to see which polarity they are, which way round they go, so I'm sure we can now get this into here, and we can just leave a little bit spare, and we can just solder our LED back into place. Okay, there we have it. Let's now have a look to see if it actually works. Okay, that's all back together, so we can just give this a try. Let's connect it to the bench power supply. Let's have a look to see how it's just working now. Yeah, and there we have 3 LEDs lit up. So that's quite nice, to be quite honest. I think if you really wanted to, you could modify it to have 4 LEDs, but that's working just fine. So let's have a look at the other PC. So here's the other PC from the same market, same price, €15. This one has a beige, well, a DVD and a CD-ROM, I think it is actually, CD writer and DVD reader, but it has the same sort of silver black style, silver case. It's probably of a similar vintage as the last machine. I'm sure I've seen this type of case before with the 2 fans here, but in other ways it's quite different. And we'll just open it up and you'll see. And the main difference really between this one and the last one is that in actual fact this is an Intel machine. You can see Intel on here, and looking by this style of heatsink where it's mounted, it's a Pentium 4 socket 478. So this is like the generation of machines before the LGA 775s came out. Just remove all this lot. Fans are on the side there. I've certainly seen one of these cases before, maybe with a different style front, but the same chassis as this one. So let's have a look what we've got here. Oh, that's interesting. See where the power comes in here. That's a very strange thing, because you've got a 20-way ATX going to a 24-way ATX into a 20-way socket. I can only assume we've done that because the cable wasn't basically long enough to reach. So a bit unusual to see the ATX power over there. This is the 4-way next to it. Yeah. Again, we have a separate graphics card. Just VGA, 4 USBs. Oh, does this have? I'm not sure. It has a FireWire slot. So I think you've got LAN and FireWire on this. IEEE 1394. So that's what we've got. 8-bit motherboard. I can't say I've seen any. I've had a few P4478s, but I can't recall having one which actually had an 8-bit motherboard. Whether that's any different, I don't know. It has 2 SATA and IDE. So it's probably a little bit newer than that other machine, I'm guessing. Okay, so we can have a look again, see if any short circuits on this. If it can't see anything, let's power it up. 450 watt. Probably hasn't got active PFC, so we can probably put the light bulb limiter on it. Yeah, let's just see what we've got. I've selected just resistance range, so we can have a look. So I'll just go to the chassis, and we can go on this 4-way. Let's have a see what we have here. Now, there's no short circuits there. Try to find the core of the CPU, is that of interest? Yeah, 3.4, that's probably it. Oh, coils here. 3.5, that's probably normal for one of these. Let's just check there's no problems with the power supply, so we can connect the light bulb limiter in series, see what it does, and if it's all lights up and goes dim, we'll just power it up and let's see. Okay, so we're ready to go basically. I'll just put the current limiter on, and we can just watch the light bulb, which is up under here, and let's see what it does. Yeah, so it flashes once and goes off, so that's normal for a power supply without PFC. It means there's no shorts in there and power's getting into the power supply. So we can switch this now to mains, and we can switch it back on again, and then let's try and start this and see what happens. Oh, well, I've got a green, can you see it down there? Yeah, there's a green LED lit up, so I've got standby. Oh, and it works. At first it didn't work. Something's making a strange noise, like a fan. Oh, and then it's shut off. But the standby light's still on. I think the first thing to do with this is let's take it out of the case. Let's get this motherboard out, and we'll get a known good power supply, and let's see what happens with it. There we have it. It's an 8-bit IS7V2. I've definitely not seen one of these before because I remember this. All the capacitors look to be in good condition. I'm not saying they are. Oh, that's quite nice. So they put the 8-bit into the side of the heatsink there. That's a nice little touch. So it makes you think maybe this was like a bit of a premium motherboard in its day. Don't know what happened to 8-bit. Did they become somebody else or get taken over by somebody else? I mean, used to see quite a lot of 8-bit motherboards back in the day. Sure, somebody knows. Yeah. The graphics card's got a little fan on it. The fan's stiff. I wonder if that's what was making the funny noise. What is this thing? Oh, it's an MX440. Okay. AGP MX440S. 128 meg. Okay, we don't know if that's good or not. In fact, let's put the graphics card in off the other motherboard for the moment, because we know that was a good one. I had a quick look. So this is a GeForce 4 MX440, 128 meg. I don't think they're particularly unusual. They're quite a common AGP card, but we can have a look. Might be a bit nicer than this one, I don't know. We'll put the known, well, the dust out. We'll put the known good card in here for now. And then it's bloody stiff, that. It's like it doesn't easily want to go in, but I'm sure it will go in. Yeah, there it goes. So let's have a look to see what happens with this now. We're ready to go then with the known good power supply. It's like green light is on. It does start. Nothing making a funny noise now, so that was something else. But no. Ah! Long continuous bleep. Is that saying something about the RAM maybe? Let's have a look, see what RAM we have in here. This is 512 meg, DDR400 again, same as the last one. So let's try the memory out of the other one because we know it's good. Okay, I've put the 2 strips of 256 meg in. Switch it on again, power, switch on here. Let's see. Any bleeps now? Yeah, it doesn't like something, this. That's interesting. I don't suppose it's complaining there's no monitor in it. I don't think it's even got that far, but we can have a look. Okay, put that in there. Again, power on. Yeah, long bleep. I can put the post analyzer card in, but let's have a quick look. So let's just try with one strip of RAM in either slot and see if it actually does anything. We can also try to change the CMOS battery if that's flat. And we'll try it without any RAM as well, actually, see if it does the same thing. Oh, okay. So with one RAM in this slot, yeah, it's booting up. I had a rather nice BIOS screen I can show you. So it's working with RAM in one of the 2 slots. Just power it off again. We can just go again. Have a quick look. Here we go. So I'll try just cleaning the RAM slots with just the paintbrush and maybe a little bit of isopropyl and just see. Yeah, that'll bleep, you see. Okay, so it is working. It is a Pentium 4, I can see that. After seating and reseating the DIMMs a number of times, I also got a bit of isopropyl. You've actually wet the contacts and then repeatedly inserted and removed them, and after a number of times it's now working okay. So we now have, you can see there's 256 in there, that's 524. So 512 meg basically of RAM. It's a 3 gigahertz Pentium 478, which is actually quite a reasonably fast one. I think 3.2 is the fastest, or maybe 3.4. So it's quite a reasonable processor for its type. So let's now get the hard drive that came with the machine and see if it actually has an operating system on it or not. I've put the original hard drive on. You see it's loading Windows XP. So this does have an OS on it. I've also put the GeForce 4 MX400 in as well, which I think is actually quite a common but popular GPU for retro gaming. I have a GeForce 4 Ti on one of my machines, which I think is rather more expensive, but more sought after. And there we have it. You see it's in Windows XP. It's just found the mouse, in actual fact, so I should be able to operate the mouse in the moment. Obviously has an OS, somebody's life on this one, but I would just format it. And I think we have to say we have another working retro PC here. Okay, so we're now in Windows. I have control of the mouse. It's loaded a few drivers. Everything looks good in the control panel there. Device manager, GeForce 4 MX 440. We can see it's the 3 GHz Pentium 4, 512 meg of RAM. It's seeing both strips, so that's working fine. Seems nice and stable. So the question now is, which is the most desirable of these two machines for retro gaming? And I suppose the best way to figure that out is which one's fetching the most money. The motherboard, I can only see one for sale. I cannot see any more. Oh, maybe I do see some more a bit further down. So this is the one, IS7V2. Slightly different model. These are all slightly different models. E2. Yeah, so it's a bit hard to say, to be quite honest. The only one I think I can say is exactly the same as mine is this one, which is coming with a processor and 2 gig of RAM, tested and working, 57. So it would suggest that these motherboards are possibly worth a bit more than the Socket A, the AMD machine I had. I suspect, I mean, the processor is about the same price as the AMD processor, and the graphics card is a very similar price to the other graphics cards. So most likely there's very little difference between the actual value of either of these machines. I think they're both worth about the same, about £50. I can't see any sold ones of these again, which means either A, they don't come up very often, or B, they don't sell very well. I think the thing to do with this is just to sit on it for a while. There we have it, guys, a nice little bit of car booty. Something was making a funny noise when I had this machine put together, and I wondered if it was something like a disc in the DVD or CD writer, but no, there was no discs in there. I had a quick look. You never know what you might find, to be honest. So there you go, guys, nice bit of car booty, a little bit of fun, a little bit of restoration. I'm sure some of you guys know more than me about this type of kit and can probably have your own opinion on the value of them and which is the most desirable of the two that I have here, although they're of a very similar age. They're quite different machines. I'm now building up a stock of these. I have a lockup down by the garage. I keep them in the garage now, and given our climate here, you know, sort of 88 millimeters of rain a year, and the temperature never goes lower than in winter at night, maybe 14 centigrade plus, not minus. Yeah, and in summer down in the garage it might get to 30 or so. So everything lives in this quite even temperature here, and it's very dry. So I don't think there's a problem storing these in the garage. Again, be interested to see what you guys think. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you all soon on another Learning Electronics Repair video. Ciao for now, guys.